Well, hello everyone. It is Thursday morning, September 26th. We're looking at the markets and looking at some mentor request stocks to view. As we start out this, as we do each week, we start though with what the general markets are doing. And we use that information to try to put a context around everything else. And if you look at what's happening here with the general markets, it's a range that's taking place. You can see all this activity here at the bottom of this tighter range that's began to form at the what we shall say is the highs, right? So we came up, we tested twice, actually here and here, unable to get over that supply line. That supply line keeps turning this back. Now, when you begin to build out a range, just as what happened back here, right, you have to feel out where that range is. So you come up, you test, right? Eventually you break out. Potentially that could happen down here, but it didn't. Same thing here. We're testing and testing and testing, and we're trying to decide, can we break it down or can we break it out? That's a range. That's what's taking place. The fact yesterday that this thing got under, back over, right? This volume here got under, back over, less volume. You know, that situation, maybe I should point it out this way, that situation says that, hey, this thing should try to rise. Where's it going to try to rise to? Well, now there's some different information that we haven't had, because as the range builds out, things begin to form. A swing point low was broken on this bar. You can see the red arrow telling you it was broken on suspect volume. That swing point low, when it's broken, becomes a test point. The test point happens to be right here. This is the critical area now. It's not up here anymore. I mean, it will be if it gets back up there, but right now it's here. That gives us something else to look at. And so 3,000, 3,008 is the key area. As it comes back up, there should be a supply line. We should see sellers step up to the plate. So far, buyers have stepped up to the plate at the bottom. If they break that down, it's going to be a test of this prior swing point high and this bar's high here. This should be the demand line. And so right now, you've got supply line here, demand line there. Those are the critical points. It used to be the supply line used to be up here, and now we're looking at it a little bit lower. Gives us more information to go on. If they blow through this, that gives us a lot of indication that this is probably going to break to the upside before it's over. If they fell here, it becomes more of a question mark as to whether this, the next time down, will hold or will probably push down into this area. And my suspicion is if this does hold, we will push down into this area, and that's the way you read the chart. And so that's where we're at on the S&P 500. Let's look at some of the individual stocks that have been asked for. We'll start here with AAR Corp. And we'll go from daily out to the monthly. This is a retest regen, right? Your retest regens generally can be bought. You got a nice big spike off that. You also had, a test back here, and so the probability that this would hold was not enough for you to just assume. You had to wait and see if it did. You actually got a little under over, a little less volume on this under over here. They give you an indication on Tuesday that this thing had a shot to shoot back up to the upside. And so that is what it has done. Let's see if the weekly kind of confirms that. Also a test on the weekly with big volume. That's a good indication that you probably want to take a shot at it if you had a chance. And let's look at the monthly. I'm assuming the monthly will look about the same way. And it does. The monthly's over the breakdown bar's high. And so yeah, this stock looks like it's going to try and trade higher still. Probably try to make it up to this level. So that's AAR Corp, which is AIR symbol. We also cover stocks that are in Canada and Australia. This is an Australian stock. Let's see what's going on here. There's a nice big ABCD structure of the upside. Hasn't completed. You got to fade back into a retest regen zone. You know, with the general market working higher, right, if that's what's happening, you want to typically look at retraces to buy. So in other words, you get a breakout here, right? And then you look at the retrace to make a purchase. And if it goes on up, right, regenerates up to wherever it's supposed to go to, you know, you try and sell it. If it doesn't quite get there and it fades back, this is the second test. It's a little more suspect, doesn't have as much opportunity to, you know, to rebound. But you know, the odds are a little less than 50. But the general market's still with you, right? And in this particular case, this individual stock is also still with you in terms of trend. That gives you more confidence that this probably will hold, or at least has a decent chance of holding. And so you look at it to buy. This one did hold. Let's see what the longer term. It's a breakout on the weekly and the monthly. So again, all the trends point higher. When all the trends point higher on the monthly, on the weekly, on the daily, gives you more confidence that that trend will continue, and therefore on a retest regen, right, on a retest back, a retrace back into a swing point high that was broken, gives you confidence to try to go into it. If we look here at Intuit, now this one looks a little bit different, right? Different story here. So in other words, what I'm saying is that, you know, what's the trend here? Well, the trend here is down on the daily. This is Intuit. And so you had a nice big breakout bar here, probably on earnings, that then pulled back, right, and had an ugly ending. A lot of times those things will go back up and try to test. This didn't quite get to the top, and then it breaks down again. This is kind of a negative pattern. You've got a little range going on down here at this swing point low, trying to decide if it's going to break down or not after what looks to be some sort of a failed breakout. Now let's go a little bit deeper into the weeklies. On the weeklies here, we've got a retest regen taking place on the weekly. Now this is, again, the second attempt, right? So it broke out here. Now you fade in, you try to push higher, and you fade back in again. So here you have a little less than a 50-50 chance on a weekly time frame. And then finally, let's look at the monthly, and the monthly has a nice big strong thing. So it looks to me like what's happening here is consolidation that's probably going to extend deeper. And so that consolidation in this case, I could see this area here down to this area probably being the target. So that's about 227. Now that we know that on the monthly, right, let's go back and look at the shorter term time frames. I want to go the weekly again. If this broke, 227 brings you down into a retest regen back here. Now notice that this hasn't been tested. This has a huge probability, right, high probability that it will regenerate. And so what you really want to look at on something like this is you want to try to see if it can get down here, because that's really where you want to buy it. And so to me, this is something you put on your watch list, you monitor, and you wait to see if it's going to come deeper. And finally, let's look at the last one here, which is another index, but it's the IWM, the ETF. This happens to be the one that we have on the site as a pick in our case. This came back up, tested here, right, failed on the test, had decent volume build up, you know, on this spike up, failed on the test, came back. Now it's doing a retest regen here, and there's another one up underneath it. This one has not been tested, and neither has this one. And so this first test, huge opportunity for this to actually try and regenerate, right? This should get bought. There should be a demand line here. This should get bought. We see that kind of happening. This morning it's a little weaker. It's trading back down into this area. But it looks as if, just like with the general market, this should try and regenerate back and test that top side again. And so that's what I would be expecting here. Whether it's going to break out is another question. If you remember, the very first thing I showed with the S&P 500 has to get over its base. It's a bearish retest regen. This, if you're looking for an area that's critical on the way back up, it's going to be right here. Got to get over that. Can't get over that, it's probably going to come down and test again and get deeper, right? Come back into this one. And so this is the range for now. That's it for this week. Have a great one. Thanks. Take care.